And that's important in my world, because any technique that is rising has the same mechanical development. Any technique that is descending has the same mechanical development. Think of how I execute a Judansky or middle level thrust. My students invariably see me spiral my punches in. That spiral is a low technique. It's turning into a low technique. It's putting my fist marginally below my elbow when I'm thrusting to the solar plexus. In my mind, that is a low technique. So where's middle? Well, if we have high and we have low, they meet in the middle. But the middle, in my world, in this case, is an almost imperceptible line betwixt high and low. And if I'm on the one side of the line, I'm low. If I'm on the other side of the line, I'm high. Well, of course, we would need instruments to detect whether my horizontal arm actually was high or low. And so for me, middle is really the only time when I can describe my arm as being horizontal, if that makes any kind of sense. If my arm is on a horizontal plane, then for me, I would be happy to call that middle level. But if I can see perceptibly that it is rising, then it is high. And if I can see perceptibly that that is descending, then it is low. It's as simple as that. There are probably many other examples of where I differ in my mindset to standard Japanese dojo terminology. I have a much more prosaic, maybe Chinese mindset. I like to use descriptions which tell a story rather than are clinically describing some mechanical event. Hence terms such as willow yields to wind, bamboo bends in breeze, warrior wields sword, and so on. Those are much more me than standard Japanese dojo terminology. And so I don't really have a lot of time for standard dojo terminology. I'm talking in karate terms, of course. So it's not a question of terminology being mandatory or anything like that. If a student, a member, wants to learn dojo terminology, then that's all to the well and good. It may serve a person well in the future. If a person wants to learn my dojo terminology, that is also well and good. And if a person does not want to learn dojo terminology, I don't see that that actually matters a jot, to be honest. As I said, language does not make the art that we practice. Our art is universal and can be practiced in any culture, in any land, anywhere on the planet. Language should never make a difference. Language should never be that important. After all, what is language? It's simply a means of communicating one with another and understanding something collectively. How we achieve that is of absolutely no matter whatsoever. As long as we can all agree upon what it is we're talking about, then I see absolutely no problem. It seems to me that there are a number of people in the West who, through their deep enthusiasm and burning desire to understand their martial art, almost want to become Japanese or want to become Okinawan. That may not be a bad thing for some people, Personally, I am very, very happy being English. I don't want to be Japanese or Okinawan or Chinese or Korean. I am English, and I am happy being English. That is what I want to be. I'm happy in my English world. I'm happy to borrow ideas, martial ideas for my martial art from the Orient, whether they be Japanese, Korean, Chinese, Okinawan or anything else, and to utilize them in my system where I think fit. But I see no merit, and I have no leanings towards trying to understand the Oriental mindset. I think in part that's because I realised that no matter how hard I tried, I would never be able to become Japanese or Okinawan. I would never be able to get into the exact mindset of an Oriental any more than they will ever get into the exact mindset of an Englishman. We can get close maybe, but we'll never fully understand the mindset of an Oriental. And so in that sense, my martial art is English and derived from the martial arts of the Orient, particularly Okinawa, and particularly the system of Matsumura Saito, the orthodox Matsumura system. I think too, if we are honest with ourselves, that sometimes the language of martial arts is a kind of elitist thing. I've seen it so often in my life, where professions and cults and organisations have their own language, which shuts out the outsider. The outsider cannot understand the workings of that particular organisation or group because of the language used. And it's a little bit like that in martial arts. You have to learn the language in order to come to grips with the art. And I have a deep hatred of elitism, and maybe that's another reason why I am very cautious about using other languages than my own in the context of my martial art. Having said all of that, I think probably in my own group, Shinseido, probably a good plan for the student is to learn a set of bog basic Japanese dojo terms, because they will undoubtedly come in useful during the person's martial life or career, but never to be dogmatic, and to be accepting of people who do not know the language, and to be happy to readily translate in a moment a term which may not be understood. Flexibility, going with the flow. In a way, it's a game of courtesy. I would not demand that any student learned the language of the dojo. As long as we can all be understood within our training environment, then that's all that's necessary, to be honest.